Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you to this segment of Living the Little Way. As you'll remember, over the past couple of weeks, we've been talking about prayer and what prayer does in one's life. And so I'm very happy this afternoon to welcome Braxton and Colton and Hudson and Weston VanKeulen, who have graciously consented to be with us today to talk about their experience of prayer in their own life as persons and also family prayer. So I'm just going to start. I'm just going to go around the circle and ask each of you to tell me what you think prayer is. And I'm going to start with you, Braxton.
I think it's a way of like connecting with God. Like you don't have to be necessarily like in a church or anything, and it's just a quick way of talking to Him.
Colton.
I think it's like the base of your relationship with God.
Okay, right at the very bottom part of it, and it builds on that. Hudson.
I think that it is just talking to God and having a relationship with Him.
Weston.
Yeah, it's just an extra way of communicating with Him and kind of doing it with family too.
Those are great definitions. Basically, what I heard you say was that it's the way that we, as human beings, communicate with God, who is everything in our life. Your parents talked a little bit about the fact that each evening you guys gather for prayer. What does that involve? They talked about a lot of different things that you did. Sometimes that you would reflect on things, or they'd read something from the Bible, or they'd have some other way of engaging you in prayer. What is the most significant part for each of you?
For me, it'd probably be like the reflection from like the Matthew Kelly books, kind of like what you took away from what they had just read.
So can you give me an example, Braxton, of what you mean when it's like, you know, I'm hearing something in a book and I take it away, and are you saying that you try to do something then in your life to...
Yeah, and you kind of like, he has us go around and like say what we like thought was the most important, like main point from it, kind of. Like what you take away and remember the next day, not that you just forget right away when you go to bed.
So it's something that you carry on in your life. Colton, what's the most important part of that for you?
I probably agree with Braxton. I think that I like the Matthew Kelly books because I think that, you know, we read a lot of books at night, and a lot of them are like younger kid based, and you like, it doesn't matter how many times you read a book, you still like always are going to learn something new from it. But
Even a little kid book sometimes.
yeah, even those. But I agree, the thing that we usually learn the most from is the Matthew Kelly one, because, you know, you take away like life lessons and stuff from it.
He's pretty blunt and to the point on things.
Yeah, I like it.
Hudson, what do you think?
Personally, I think it's also the Matthew Kelly books. I think that they just do a great job of getting to see older kids instead of just the younger kids. Although we do learn from the younger kid books, just like what Colton said. But for me, it's definitely the reflection on the Matthew Kelly books.
So what about the reflection of Matthew Kelly?
Kind of, Dad just tells us how we can like use it in our lives, and that kind of helps a lot.
So he gives you an example maybe of how to do it.
Yeah.
Weston.
For me, it's like the books, but it's also the prayer itself. So you just learn the prayers and just reflecting on the books.
When you say prayers, you mean the ones that are maybe in the books, or ones
Like
that are...
both, kind of.
Okay.
Just the all-around prayer.
Okay. So what do you do with new prayers?
Kind of try to memorize them, but also like think about them at the same time.
That's kind of hard to do sometimes, to memorize
Yeah.
all of those things. How do you carry those things out in your life then? You know, you guys are really active in a whole variety of different things in your life. How do you witness to other people about what prayer does for you? Go ahead.
Just like the actions you do, like how do you speak to people, and then like how do you like treat people, kind of.
Okay, so how you live out
Yeah.
your life. Okay. Hudson.
Kind of just like taking the lessons that you learned and using them in your life, like the basic ones, not lying, not stealing, not cheating, and just implanting those to a deeper level.
Okay. So that you take what's on the surface and keep going down deeper.
Mm-hmm.
Colton, what about you? You're kind of a thinker. You're a deep thinker.
Yeah, I have to say, like, we do it every night. So, like, obviously there are going to be a lot of them that, like, you kind of forget after you do. And,
Now you're talking about the prayer or the lesson?
not the prayer, the lesson.
Okay.
Like we all go around and we always say our points, and it's always interesting to hear another person's point. Sometimes you'll hear another person's point, think it's better than yours, then forget your own or something like that, or just forget them altogether. So you don't take away every one, but there's some that like really stick. Yeah.
Okay.
Like for me, negativity was one, because I think it's helped to, it's helped me be a better person when I try to avoid negativity.
When you become more positive.
Yeah.
Okay. Braxton.
I think prayer sets like virtues, morals, and like boundaries. Like sometimes like I just randomly pause and reflect on like what I did, and like sometimes you remember the prayers and you just think like, was that right? Was that what I should have done? And sometimes like prayers, like the saints that made them, and it
Yep.
kind of helps to know their like backstories and stuff, to know where they came from.
Where they were coming from and
Yeah.
why they prayed the way
Yeah,
they did.
what caused them to write it and stuff like that.
Who is your favorite saint?
St. Francis,
Saint Francis of Assisi?
Yeah.
Why do you like him?
because he's the only one off the top of my head right now.
Well, that's a good answer. He's the only one off the top of your head. But there's something about him that a lot of people like. What is it, do you think?
His love for animals.
Yeah, he has that great love for animals, and they're always around him, and he's always pictured with animals. So you learn from saints. What about you, Colton? Does that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't focus that much on saints, but there are a few that stick. Like, I think Saint Joseph is a good one, because he was a really good role model. Like he wasn't even the real father of Jesus, but he still was.
A father.
Yeah, he still was like one of the best, if not the best, father figure.
Okay. So Saint Joseph. What about you, Hudson? Who's your favorite saint?
I would probably say St. Peter, because even though he fell and denied Jesus 3 times, he still got up and went and became one of the best saints of all time.
He asked for God's forgiveness,
Mhm.
and he became the first pope. Weston.
I would say St. Thomas because he doubted
Who's Saint Thomas? The doubter?
the doubter.
Okay.
Because he doubted Jesus and he came back to him. And it kind of shows that saints are more human and like we can be
Ah.
like them.
That they're human and they make mistakes
Yep.
and they can get back up on their feet. When you guys pray, do you ever carry it out or carry that prayer to sports?
Yeah.
How do you carry that?
Well, like, you'll be sitting on the sidelines or like before a race and like swimming and stuff, and you'll just find yourself like repeating some like Bible verses to try to like motivate you. Like you can go from music to just prayer just like that, and it's kind of relaxing.
So let's say you're getting ready to swim, and what prayer would you say?
The I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
And he does.
Yeah.
He does strengthen you. Colton, what about you?
For me, it's more of like I use it more like than anything like before a test. Like before I'm about to take a test, I always say a prayer. Just like something simple like, Jesus help me retain the information that I studied prior to the test.
And does it relax you?
Yeah, usually. Sometimes, nerves get in the way, but
Yeah.
usually.
So those are things that you can pray for. Do you ever carry it over to sports in any way?
Sometimes, yeah.
And how
Like-
do you do that?
Like maybe like if I'm having a bad golf day, I just say a prayer about it.
If you're not sinking them where they're supposed to
Yeah.
go, okay.
Yeah.
Hudson,
I usually say it before I have to run a really long track race, like the mile. I'm just praying, help me get through it
Help me.
without puking or anything.
without puking, that's a good
Yeah.
one. The
And-
no puke prayer, okay.
And I kind of do a lot of the sign of the cross before it.
Ah, Sign of the cross. Where do you make it? Just right out and
Just like right before my race, if I'm like getting ready to get down into like 3-point stance, I'm doing the.
what do you think that does for everybody that's watching you?
It kind of just shows how much, like, if I'm running for O'Gorman, it shows that we really do try to stick to our faith.
Okay. So that if you're running for O'Gorman, what about you, Weston? You are at Brandon Valley. Do you think that the people at Brandon Valley make the sign of the cross?
Not truthfully, no. Some people.
Some people do.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that I remember Joe Anders doing is kneeling down right before a track meet and just making the sign of the cross and praying.
Yeah.
Do you do that? Would you?
I sometimes do the sign of the cross before a race, but I usually am like praying like during this one when you're getting like tired. So then he just gives you more strength to finish the race.
As I look at the four of you guys, I cannot think of for young adults who reflect more what Jesus is about than you do. That doesn't mean that you're perfect, but it means that you reflect that. Do you see that in your life?
Sometimes, but sometimes I found myself like doing the opposite of Jesus would want me to do. So then I kind
We
of,
rebel.
yeah.
Okay, I'm going to rebel today and not do what Jesus wants. So what do you do when you do that?
Like maybe like I kind of favorite siblings or like just aren't like near as nice to people as I should be.
And then when you realize you're not doing what Jesus wants, what do you do?
I usually like do a prayer just to like kind of help a little bit and then just to like take my mind off it and like.
Hudson.
Personally, like, sometimes I find myself, like, not paying as much attention as I should in Mass. And then I try to,
Sometimes that happens to me too. And I'm up there saying it, so I can get off track too.
And
What do you do to correct that?
usually just prayer, and I kind of, like, catch myself, and I'm thinking, what are you doing? You're in the presence of God. So I could try to say a prayer and more concentrate.
So pretend for a second you guys are all in the living room of your house and you're praying right now. And with all of the things that you just got done telling me, what you're saying to me is that you're not praying every minute of the day, but when there are important things come up in your life, that you center back on your faith. Is that right? Mm-hmm. So how would you pretend that I am not here and you have the rest of your siblings here and your mom and dad? How would you talk to them about how you see the importance of prayer in your life? And Braxton, I'm going to pick on you to start with. What would you say to them to convince them, hey, this is really important?
I'd probably tell them about how not only like their example, like how much that has done for us, but like it makes it so we do it on our own too. Like when they're not there or like gone at restaurants and stuff, we make it a priority to do it together even without them,
Wow.
like with our little siblings.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it gets them to bed pretty quick too.
They go to bed quickly,
Yeah.
okay? But it's amazing that you say, hey, look, I'm going to continue to do this even when they're not there. Colton, what about you?
I have to say, I think that role models play a big role in this. And, Grayson, he's kind of like the role model of the family. He's like, like if someone forgets something or
He's the
someone
junior
slips up.
pope.
Yeah. If someone slips up, he's the one there to help you and help you fix it. And like Hudson was saying, like if you got like lost in Mass, like you just look at Grayson
And he's doing it.
he's so intent.
Yeah.
Like he's
He
great.
is he's kind of like the conscience, that brings us all back. He'll even tell me, hey, you need this at the altar. At the altar. So, yeah, I do. What about you, Hudson?
It's a tougher question for me. I think I agree that role models are so important in our lives, and I do feel like Mom and Dad have done a pretty good job with that.
Yes,
And
they have.
As Colton was saying, Grayson is even though he's many years younger than us, he's a great role model for us.
So how does he call you?
Well, you just see like how intent he is with Jesus at a young age, and you just think, wow, I could try to be more like him.
I remember when he used to say Mass, okay, and then he'd be distributing communion in the form of cereal, right? He would distribute. But he was so intense that people pay attention. It's time for communion. And that's what he does, I think. That's how he calls you. Weston, what about you?
I would probably like say something they said to us like a while ago to like motivate them or to like bring them back and kind of like challenge them to come back.
There's a sense of love in your prayer too.
Yeah.
You know, that love for those that call you back to who you are. One of the most important things, and certainly for you, Braxton, is about to be confirmed, and Colton, you already are confirmed. That's what confirmation is. It's a calling to live that life as a witness to Jesus Christ. And part of what you do that with is your prayer. So I'm glad to hear you talk about how you do that in your life. I hope you share that with other people. Do you share that with people that are your peers?
Sometimes I do. Like, I've been going to like campus ministry with friends and stuff. Like, you try to convince them to do it. I'm not very good at getting to like the long ones, but just
Getting
to go
to
like
the-
during study hall, the well.
Oh, the well, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's at night usually, isn't it?
Yeah.
And how do you challenge your friends?
Just tell them like, you know, they say they have homework and stuff, but you can go and you can hang out, but you can still be like growing closer to God, and you can have a lot more fun, like than just sitting in there doing your homework all the time.
Colton.
You know, I have someone that comes to Mass with me sometimes, and I think that it's pretty special that this person does because, you know, it must be my influence or something because obviously they aren't Catholic and they had no reason to go before, but, you know, they still come, so I think that.
So
that's
they
pretty
see
cool.
something in you that they want to.
Yeah, I
and
think
they
so.
come. That's a great witness. And so the two of you, when you by witnessing this is what I have and be attracted, Braxton, you're much more, you know, this is what you need to be paying attention to, so pay attention to it. And you don't do it in a harsh way, but you do it in a way that attracts people to that too. Hudson.
Personally, so at the junior high, every single Friday we have campus ministry, and lots of times during our lunch study hall we go to that, and it's really amazing what they've done because like the whole school does it, and practically, and it's a personal choice thing. Like you could be doing your homework, but
You have to choose to go there.
and I feel like if one person goes, a lot more people are likely to go.
So if somebody sees you go, they might go too.
Yeah.
I'm going to put you on the spot, Weston, because you are at Randon Valley, and that's a public school, and the opportunities to go to the well or to campus ministry and that type of thing are not there. But how do you convince people? There goes one of them Christians right now. I can see it right in him. How do you do that?
Well, like sometimes it's not on purpose, but I have some like friends who like don't really have a choice and they kind of come with us to church. But now like after they've been doing it, they kind of come like more frequently.
So if they, in other words, you're saying they're spending the night with you or something, and so
Yeah.
it's time for Mass. Your folks say, you're coming with us. What makes it a difference that they feel like they want to come more often?
Well, it seems like they're going like a lot more with their families, and then they're like way more intent. Like if we were to do it again, like they would just say yes easier, and like just know what it's about.
So you are kind of the lone beacon, maybe, that
Yeah.
attracts people in. You know, I think you have been, all four of you have been given special gifts by the Lord, and I see you using those here. I see you using them out in the world, and I hope and pray that you continue to do that. Any last words you'd like to share with people before we break this segment off?
I think it's important to mention like the diversity in our prayers. Like we didn't really talk about that.
Talk about that a little bit.
So we for the first, I don't know, 12 years I can remember of our prayers, we always did the same thing. It was like, Our Father, Hail Mary, Act of Contrition, Faith, Love, Memorare, just a bunch of prayers. Then we'd all go around
Verbal
and say,
prayers that you memorize.
Yeah, all memorized.
Okay.
So a couple of years ago, my dad started mixing up the prayers, mixing up the order, and we all got stumbled up.
remember.
Yeah, we couldn't remember them. And it helped us to think about the prayers more and stick to them. And also now we sometimes we'll go through that full routine again. But most of the time we'll do a couple of prayers. The little boys will say a prayer of their choice. Like for example, tonight, we said a couple of prayers together, and then we all went around and said a prayer of our choice. And then we read 2 of the books for little kids, and then one of the Matthew Kelly ones. And I think that it helps to
It mixes it up.
yeah, and it keeps our attention there, and yeah.
Braxton, any last words?
Sometimes those books that you think you're too mature for or something, they can be helpful. They put you in situations that you don't really think of. And those are helpful a lot, even if you think that you're too old and you know what you'd do. They kind of put you on the spot and think what you would really do.
So there's hope for me. I'm pretty old.
Yeah.
So I could still learn some things, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Hudson.
Kind of just that, what both of them were saying. It's crazy how much our prayers have changed and how much we think about it, because you wouldn't think if you just memorize prayers, which we do at a pretty young age, we memorize most of the prayers, and then we just keep on saying them. But I do personally believe that helps you, because once you have it memorized, you can think, you don't have to think about saying the words, you gotta think what the words mean in the sentences.
So you're forming those new prayers in your own head.
Mm-hmm.
Weston, final words.
Kind of like the same things they said. Just when you memorize the prayers over and over, you kind of ramble them off. And then when you switch them up, it kind of forces you thinking, stumble a little bit. Send
And
you,
be original with what you say.
Mm-hmm.
Father, can you tell me if we'll have bodies in heaven?
Yes, we will, because we are assured that at the end of time, at the final judgment, there will be the resurrection of the body. We are not like angels, pure spirit. We are both spirit and body, and we are not complete unless our body and spirit is one. Well, we're at the end of this segment of Living the Little Way, and normally I say the prayer at the end, so Braxton has graciously consented to say a prayer to close this segment, so whatever you'd want.
Our Father, who art in
Art in
heaven,
heaven,
hallowed be
thy
thy name.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us.
And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. And may Almighty God bless you, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. We thank you for joining us this afternoon, and we'll see you again next week.